Lost in a toxic relationship, I tried to reconnect only to be reminded of his disrespect. After years of emotional turmoil and manipulation, I finally left him, yet can't shake the feeling of missing the good times. How do I move on when I am still haunted by the past? The fewer responses I receive, the more I miss him. I am reposting my post knowing it has been a few times that I have reposted, but I added it for context. We are not living together at the moment, and I suspect he is seeing someone else. However, he still asks for my assistance with various things. I feel incredibly lonely and wish he still desired me. I understand it sounds irrational to express this because he did not treat me well, but we shared some kind of connection and love, which made it exceptionally difficult to leave. I dislike how I continue to feel sadness about his absence and the connection we had, while he moves on as if I mean nothing to him. It brings deep sorrow and frustration knowing he seems to forget me, leaving me with no one. Repost, I do not know where to begin. Lately, I feel disconnected from everything, numb, anxious, and trapped in my own thoughts. I replay events in my mind continuously, trying to find clarity. I saw him again, and now I feel foolish for going back. For the first time in a long while, we spent the day together. Initially, it felt familiar and almost comforting, as if nothing had changed. We shared laughter, jokes, and fell back into old habits. I miss the positive aspects of him. He is humorous, quick-witted, and magnetic. However, there is always another side lurking beneath the surface. As the evening progressed, his attitude altered. He began making suggestive remarks, touching me, and mentioning how long it had been since he had been intimate. I tried to dismiss it and change the subject, wanting only to enjoy his company without it evolving into something else. By 11 p.m., I mentioned that I needed to leave. I had driven 3 hours to see him, and I had a long journey ahead. However, he requested that I drive him 30 minutes away to some random street, claiming he needed to use the restroom. It did not make sense. Gas stations were plentiful, yet I did not question it. Perhaps he just wanted to drive and listen to music. Upon arrival, the area was deserted in a quiet neighborhood. He guided me toward the restroom, glanced in the mirror, flexed, and checked himself out. Then he reached for my chest over my sweatshirt, stating he wanted to see. In that moment, I realized I had returned to a situation in which I was not respected. I felt ashamed not just for being there, but for a part of me still craving his attention, even though I did not want him to touch me at all. I told him no. He laughed and said, "Just do it." I knew that if I continued to refuse, he would become annoyed and angry. So, as before, I acquiesced. Things escalated. He pulled down his pants while I repeatedly said, "We are not having intercourse." He acknowledged he understood. He just wanted to climax. He persisted in urging me to remove my pants. I kept refusing, yet he continued to press the issue. Eventually, I gave in. He sat on the toilet, compelled me to stand before him for what seemed like 30 minutes, biting and slapping me intermittently. I hated it and kept thinking, how did I end up back here? At one point, I attempted to stop him. I explained that it was late and that this wasn't the reason I had come. I confronted him, saying he had planned this. He simply looked at me, fully aware I would not leave. Then he pulled me closer, still exposed and still expecting me to continue. I felt trapped. If I refused, would he become angry? Would he turn on me? Eventually, he climaxed. I kept asking, "What are we doing? This is so foolish. Can we go?" I had a 4-hour drive ahead of me, and none of this aligned with what I wanted. He feigned surprise as if I were overreacting. Then he shifted, hugging me and joking as if nothing had occurred. He apologized, saying he did not realize I would be upset. He claimed he genuinely cares for me. Yet it is always the same. He frames everything as innocent fun, but he never truly listens to me. At one juncture, he placed his hand on my neck in a sexual manner, laughing and acting as if it were inconsequential. But it is not inconsequential. I keep trying to understand it all, but I cannot. A few months ago, I ended this relationship. Now I am coming to the realization that I believe it was abusive. However, I feel so conflicted. I do not want to ruin his life. He has nothing, no money, no stability, and clearly he faces mental health challenges. Yet at the same time, I feel profoundly wronged. His family overlooks his actions. Whenever I attempt to discuss it, I feel gaslighted not just by him, but by them as well. It leaves me feeling insane. We were together for 5 years. There were wonderful moments, yet there were also instances where I felt utterly powerless. Things would seem fine for a time, and then something terrible would occur. Then it would be as if it had never happened. I began to doubt my own recollection of events, but I know what happened. Here are some of the events I remember clearly. One time, I was crying, and he slapped me across the face. The more I cried, the angrier he became. During an argument, he pushed me into a towel rack, causing a dent. He was upset because I accidentally tossed his pants and they hit his face. He attempted to force me to drink mushroom tea. When I refused, he shoved it in my direction until it spilled, then struck me hard, called me a stupid bitch, and blamed me. He once stormed into my apartment, furious that I had left him at his brother's house after drinking, even though I was trying to ensure his safety. He threw my belongings everywhere and ripped my shirt in half off my body. My roommate had to intervene and kick him out. The first time he grabbed my neck, I was half naked. Afterward, I needed to join a Zoom meeting, and my voice sounded scratchy. When I mentioned it, he dismissed my concern, saying I was exaggerating. In the mornings, he would refuse to drive me to work unless we had intercourse. If I cried due to fatigue or being late, he would insult me or threaten not to take me. During intercourse, if he could not become aroused, he would pinch me, pull my hair, and call me degrading names. I would cry and ask why he was angry. He would shift blame onto me, calling me a cheater or a bitch. Once, he climbed on top of me and struck me in the head multiple times because I accidentally hit his eye with his pants while handing them to him. He once drove recklessly, pulling my hair and yelling that we would both die because I mentioned leaving him. I experienced a panic attack while he screamed. He choked me multiple times. Not for long, but long enough to terrify me. He would not permit me to go to the restroom during intercourse. He would not allow me to stop, even when I was in tears. If he lost arousal, he would pinch me, pull my hair, and dig his nails into my skin. One time, his cousin overheard me crying naked during a fight and walked in to check on me. He became even angrier, blaming me for someone seeing me in such a vulnerable state. I hate to admit this, but I often gave in to his demands because I feared what he might do if I did not comply. When his brother stayed with us and slept in the same room, he insisted that I have intercourse with him in the bathroom. It felt deeply humiliating, but I lacked the courage to refuse. Early in our relationship, I believe he did something sexual to me while I was half asleep after using drugs for the first time. I have struggled to piece together the details, but they remain vague. Later, he started demanding sex even when I was crying. Sometimes, he would not pull out, just to exert control over me. He made me feel as though everything was my fault. He referred to me with derogatory names, accusing me of infidelity if I wished to see friends or family. Meanwhile, he was the one cheating. One time, neighbors contacted security because he was yelling, throwing me around, and I was in tears. He screamed through the wall at them, calling them derogatory names and threatening violence. Afterward, he blamed me for it. So why do I continue to feel conflicted? I recognize that he carries his own trauma and issues. A part of me still hopes he will be all right. However, I cannot shake the profound sense of wrongness that permeates all of this. Story 2. Caught in a tug of war. My boyfriend's mom insults my cooking and ignores my baby shower plans. He defends her, leaving me feeling disrespected and overwhelmed. Why can't he stand up for me when it matters most? This is going to be very long. I apologize, but I need feedback. My boyfriend and I started off on the wrong foot with his mother regarding our relationship. She made some unpleasant comments about me, which I had to bring to his attention to address before meeting her. He assured me that he had done so and that everything would be fine. On Thanksgiving, she remarked about my cooking. I did not actually prepare anything, which made it particularly strange for me, saying that if she did not like it, she would spit it out. I found this rude as it was completely unprovoked, but my boyfriend just laughed without defending my cooking or asking her to calm down, which annoyed me. However, I let it go. New Year's Eve was when things really deteriorated. His mother, her boyfriend, and his godmother and godfather were present while we were playing games with his family. His brother and godmother made a joke about him being a mama's boy, and I laughed along because I clearly agree. She attempted to confront me about it and became upset because she felt that young girls say it in a negative manner, to which I shrugged my shoulders. As the evening progressed, she began discussing how she does not get along with my zodiac sign and that she disliked me because I came across as insincere. She even had the godmother come over to assess me for her. At this point, everyone was clearly uncomfortable, so much so that her boyfriend and my boyfriend's godfather drew my boyfriend's attention to encourage him to intervene. Instead, he instructed me to leave the conversation while I was trying to explain myself, and he became angry with me when I did not leave as he requested, rather than addressing the comments his mother made. Eventually, she and I reached a sort of understanding, and I felt that we had resolved the issue. However, I was very upset with my boyfriend for not standing up for me. Before the night ended, she mentioned wanting to sit down with my mother to discuss the baby shower. I informed her that I would notify my mother, and we exchanged phone numbers as well. My boyfriend and I got into a huge argument afterward because he claimed he did not hear her. He was sitting directly next to me on his phone without headphones, and I felt that was just an excuse. He simply did not defend me, as has been the case often. Recently, we had another disagreement because we are in the process of planning my baby shower. I created a group chat with both of our mothers, his godmother, and my friend. When I reserved the venue on February 26, I sent a message detailing the costs along with all the decoration options, but everyone except my friend has gone silent. I feel a certain way about this because it seems like everyone wanted to be involved until money became a factor, and I do not appreciate that. My boyfriend asked his mother why she went quiet, and she provided 3 reasons. She saw the message late at night and intended to respond in the morning. She does not participate in group chats. I did not ask for anything. I simply made a statement. I do not believe her explanations, and here's why. Perhaps she genuinely did not realize it was time to pay, which I could understand, especially since my friend asked how much she needed to contribute and when it was due. Therefore, I would have expected our mothers to also recognize that. I am extremely upset with my mother too, but I have already spoken to her about it. She has participated in the group chat before, and if she does not typically respond, she could have just texted me or my boyfriend. We have not heard from her since that day. She hosted Sunday dinner at her home and did not ask where we were or if we wanted to attend, which I also find strange since she talks to him all the time. My boyfriend insists that she was unaware and that it is all a misunderstanding. However, he also mentioned that she said she did not understand how she got involved in the baby shower planning in the first place. It is important to remember that on New Year's, she expressed a desire to speak with my mother regarding it, and my boyfriend is convinced that she only meant to discuss it, not plan it. That reasoning seems illogical to me. I believe he is making excuses for her refusal to fulfill the commitment she willingly entered into. He informed her that I was upset and suggested that we all sit down and talk about it, but I do not want to sit down with her because I find it uncomfortable, and I have moved on from the situation. I dislike it when people say they will do something and then fail to follow through, and he knows that better than anyone since I often express these feelings. He could have just stayed silent rather than making promises he did not intend to keep. However, he does not consider it a significant issue, while I view it as a substantial betrayal since they were the ones who expressed an interest in organizing the shower, and now I am left hanging with no responses at all. He expects me to be the bigger person and reach out to her again, but he would not instruct her to contact me or acknowledge that I'm feeling stressed and neglected. I will not beg anyone to do something they volunteered to participate in, and then pretend they never agreed to it is extremely strange. Nonetheless, he maintains that he did not hear anything that transpired on New Year's Eve, leaving my word against hers. In any case, I am an anxious, pregnant woman. Please be gentle if I am in the wrong.